Cheers, everybody, and welcome to the Driver Recruiting Happy Hour. I am your co-host, Darren Williams, president of CDLjobs.com. And with me, as always, is my co-host, the president of 10-4 Recruiting, and a man who is right now only a bill, but he's hoping to become a law someday, Matt Beach.
Beach! What's up, man?
Say something nice to the people. Are you old enough to even understand that reference?
Absolutely not. I'm not as old.
Oh, aren't you really?
No, I have never heard that. That's got to be an Iowa thing.
Saturday morning cartoon. I'm just a bill. What do they call it? Schoolhouse Rock.
Okay, hold on. Yes. Now it's coming back to me because when I was growing up, I was called the neighborhood kids called me Chunky LC because
I got to write that down.
That's fine.
Chunky LC, like LC.
Yep. Because I was chunky, lazy, and I watched cartoons all the time.
Chunky LC, which turns out later in life would have been a fantastic rap name.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it could be. But no, that's what it was. It was Chunky LC. I mean, I would watch. Now that it's starting to bring back memories. But I was the He-Man, all the Bugs Bunny. I watched every single one. I can actually quote those. So they're actually. So I've got HBO Max, and then you can actually see all. They've got all the old Bugs Bunny, every single episode on HBO Max. So
do they really?
Yep.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I mean, I was the kid that would go down at 2:00 in the morning. Sit there, turn it on channel 24, thinking it was HBO. We didn't have, and all the squiggly lines, and just sit there and watch, Well,
when I was a kid,
so yeah, I was that old. I'm that old.
We had 3 channels, and I think it was ABC that produced Schoolhouse Rock, and they had all these things.
Mm-hmm. The Bloodhound Gang. Yeah, the Bloodhound Gang. You remember that one? We're the Bloodhound Gang. Whenever there's trouble, we're on the dump. Yeah.
That might have been a Tennessee thing.
No, then there was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
See, I think that was the Electric Company or Sesame Street.
It might have been Sesame Street.
Schoolhouse Rock did Conjunction Junction.
Yeah.
You got to look. I mean, if
I know what you're talking about. He was the guy that was like this. He was like a big yellow blob or something, wasn't he? Looked like a potato.
That was Chunky LC back in the.
That was Chunky. It was Chunky.
Let's bring in our guest here before we have to go into a counseling session. We have got the Director of Transportation Operations at NFI, David Pike. David, come on in.
Well, close on the title there. Director of Recruiting, National Recruiting for NFI, not operations. I don't think I'd want that job.
Well, you got to update your LinkedIn profile.
Hell. We're supposed to do that every once in a while? All right, we'll do that.
That's where I went to look for it.
Yeah, we'll do that. Director of Recruiting. Been doing it for 28 years, Darren.
Oh, yeah. We met how long ago?
28 years ago.
Was it 28? Did you come straight from the military to Heartland Express?
I was about a year between military and Heartland. I came at Heartland at the beginning of 95. So this year would be our, 27th year, almost 28?
Yeah. So I guess 28 years later, sorry. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah, so you came in as you're doing orientation, or what were you doing? Was it recruiting?
I was doing recruiting down there with Al in the Atlanta Forest Park Terminal for Heartland.
Forest Park, Georgia.
Yep.
Was Bo still the terminal manager there then?
Yep.
Remember Bo? What was Bo's last name?
I don't remember.
Jackson.
Bo Jackson. Yeah, there you go. It's Bo
Jackson.
Jackson.
It wasn't Bo Jackson. He went as hard as Bo Jackson, but nothing athletically whatsoever. Holy cow. You going to do a week in Forest Park, Georgia back in the mid-90s with Heartland was you had to try to keep up drinking with Bo for 5 days, and it was brutal.
Yep.
And he would first one to the office, and the next morning, always, no matter what, that guy answered the bell. He was a pro, so I'm assuming he's dead now. So God bless Bo.
Let's put that out there. If anybody knows Bo from Heartland back in the days, we can find him.
I don't remember his last name.
He will be our next guest on the podcast.
Oh my
Bo,
God.
if you're dead, if you're not dead, if you're listening.
Matt will resurrect him just for this occasion, right?
Yeah. Oh, holy.
Did you take him in the Deadpool there, Darren? I hope you didn't take him in the Deadpool, right?
I say now I've got to do some counseling sessions here. We're going to need to, holy moly. Do we know any? We'll have to figure out a guest who can talk us through our trepidations.
Yes.
So yes, Heartland Express, 1995. So what's been happening since?
Oh man, for those of us like you and I and Matt who've been in this business for a long time, man, I tell you, this has been one wild ride over the past decade. But 28 years, man, I think we've all seen everything change so immensely in our business. It's absolutely amazing to look back at where we started. You and I were talking back out in Vegas at the 10th Street conference about how we used to do verifications over the phone. I'd pick up and call him Matt and say, Matt, what we should do with this driver? Well, you wouldn't take him. I wouldn't take him either. Should never have been doing stuff like that in the 90s, but that's just how it was done. We didn't know any better. But certainly as we learn, educate, improved, it's just gotten so interesting that nowadays you have to be so proficient at so many more things in this business of recruiting. It's absolutely gotten out of control. It's crazy.
But in fairness, I mean, none of the companies that do that stuff now existed back then.
No, not at all.
I mean, there was no 10th Street. There was no anything. I mean, there was what, maybe 3 advertising agencies.
Pollard Publishing was one. Yeah, a few others.
1,700 publishers, but and no 10th Street, no Assurant, no whatever. All the people that do the background stuff now and all that, they just didn't exist.
No.
Driver Reach. I mean, none of they just weren't around. So it was a different time. And when I tell recruiters, if people bring me in or have me call in to do some training or something, I tell them I used to hire seriously between 16 and 18 drivers a week every week. Makes me sound like a hero, but man, it was so different. I mean, I was an order taker, right? It was just, do you qualify? Yeah, come on.
I've heard it where drivers were just crawling through windows trying to get in just to get the job.
If you had the right job, Matt, they really were. I mean, I hate to say it, but they absolutely were. And, it really got interesting when we could start tracking phone calls. That was one of the first metrics we could get with call tracking to see how many calls you took and how many you answered. We thought everything was gold since then. So yeah, you're right. It was order taking back in the early 90s and late 80s in this business. And through probably 2002, 5, 6 in that time frame when it all really began to change.
Part of my job used to be to go in on Saturday mornings and tally up the little tick sheets. We would do an Excel file that had all of our advertising venues that we used, which was about 7, 8, 9, 10 magazines and 200 newspapers. And Atlanta had fax them in, Columbus would fax them in. Yep. And my job was to do that. I'd go through and put all those forms together to have it ready for the Monday morning report, redo the sheets for the next week. Holy cow, what a pain. That was, so it wasn't always easy.
Hey,
I had to work too, Beach.
Where's your fancy microphone now?
I was really hoping
I gotta see the fancy
microphone. Unnoticed that the microphone disappeared from the podcast.
I'll give you this one, Matt. We're good with this one.
I had one like that. I couldn't get the damn thing to work ever unless it was horrible. I hated it. I am not smart enough.
It's safe to say we're not doing the fancy microphone. It's gone.
I still have it's not gone. I know where it is. It's just not here.
We still got the fancy glasses on top of his head though, Matt. We're good.
He does.
That's how I know where they are.
You know they're there. Just so you know, they're on top of your head.
I tried the ones that click in the middle, and I gotta take my neck size down a notch before I do that again. I about hung myself.
I've got to get glasses. That's a given. I have to get glasses. It's horrible.
I can't operate without my readers anymore. I can't. I mean, I can't sign an invoice. I can't do anything without them. I have to have them. It's horrible.
Now, tell me about now, David, did you pick a horse for the Derby?
No, not at all. I was watching the Formula One on Saturday and Sunday.
It was in Miami, right?
It was in Miami this year. So I'm not a huge horse fan. I did flip it on a couple times to see if I could actually catch the Derby, but no, I'm more of a race fan and enjoy the open wheel racing of IndyCar and Formula One, especially that series on Netflix. If you guys haven't watched it, it's been awesome.
Now, are you going to, did you come to Nashville for that race?
No, it didn't come to Nashville for the inaugural. I generally hit up the Indianapolis 500, which will be coming up into this month. And I've already got tickets again for that. Turn one, like always. This will be my 13th, 14th race that I've been to in the past 20 years, 25 years.
Was it us talking, or was it someone that the ring in Vegas is also doing the Formula One?
Yes, Vegas is coming for Formula One next year. So we'll have 3 Formula One races. The only problem with Formula One is check out the price of the tickets. We all need a raise to afford those things.
What are they? What's it going right? I mean, like NASCAR, to me, NASCAR right now is affordable for the most part.
Yeah, it is very affordable.
Yeah.
F1 tickets have a comma in them. And they're expensive.
Yeah, they have a comma.
So here's the deal. Is it all because of that Netflix thing?
I don't know if it's all because of that. I just think it's because of the overall money paid out in that and the money that goes in behind it. You take a look at the Indianapolis 500, Matt, to your point, like NASCAR, you can get turn one great seats for $110 a ticket, $40 to park in the infield. So for 2 people to go, you're out for $250, $260. That's not bad.
No.
You know, and you get an entire day's worth of excitement for that. It was literally $1,200 for me to get a ticket at the COTA, which is the Circuits of the America down in Austin for Formula One last year, and I opted not to go. I could have sat on the grassy knoll for $700, but no, thank you.
So, question: NASCAR fans, Formula One fans, are they really different, big time, more of a? If you had to compare,
I would say so. Yeah, listen, NASCAR has got its loyalty and it's got its roots in the South, and you know the days of running moonshine, and you pick your team and you're loyal to that to the death. There are folks in both IndyCar and in the Formula One circuit that are loyal to their brands. You know, the Ferrari teams, the McLaren teams, Mercedes teams all do that as well. Same with the Penske's and stuff in IndyCar. But I think the difference is the majority of folks in open wheel racing, i.e. IndyCar and Formula One, are there to see a damn good race. They want to see the competition. They want to see the skill versus, you know, I've been to several NASCAR races. If your person you hate the most in the NASCAR has a crash, half the damn fans are cheering out there for him. You know, you just don't typically see that in open wheel racing. I think that's the biggest difference.
I think it's like anything else. The best part is before the race ever starts, no matter what it is. I mean, it's just the party before and during, and the whole F1 thing really fascinates me because I was never a fan. I've watched all, was it 3 seasons they've had of that thing?
4 now.
And is it 4? Okay, I've watched them all, whatever it is, and I'm fascinated by the storylines. It's awesome. I love the show, but I still can't get into watching the race on Sunday. If there's a NASCAR race on, I'm still going to watch the NASCAR race as opposed to Formula One. So yeah, Netflix, do a NASCAR show, man, because NASCAR's numbers are just going the exact opposite way of F1.
Yeah,
for whatever
really
reason,
is.
I don't know.
And I'll tell you something about the Indianapolis 500. I'm always very proud of that. It should be on everybody's bucket list. But they actually have a full-fledged concert right in the middle of the race in the infield. They'll have 70,000+ people during the race. They have
something to kill time.
Yeah, you pay to get into the race, and you pay another $60 or $70 to go watch the concert. And you sit there for the entire day and watch nothing but a concert. It's more for the younger generation. Typically,
what, just look up at the leader poll every once in a while to see what's happening.
Drink your beer and sit there and listen to music all day and party.
I'm in.
You're in, Matt?
Yeah, I don't know. I went to the Brickyard race one year at Indianapolis, and not knowing any better, picked a seat on the front stretch. So I basically watched TV all day on a big screen, which is exactly what I did at the Kentucky Derby, which is what 200,000 people do at the Kentucky Derby. You look for the horse as they go in front of you, and then you watch the screen for another mile.
Your outfit looked great.
Not a lot of guys can pull off that much pink.
Oh, it was.
Did you wear a hat though with it though, Darren?
I did.
You look like an Easter.
Absolutely.
Like a colorful Easter egg.
Absolutely, like a big Easter egg. One day it was pink, obviously for the Oaks, the Kentucky Oaks, pink for the Phillies and the breast cancer awareness, and then
look good.
Derby Day was blue. I had nothing to do with either. My wife, I have a salmon-colored seersucker suit, which try to say that. That was not the same shade as my wife's dress, so I had to go get a different colored pink to match that, and it looked great. And it would have looked bad if I was in. But yeah, it was. You know what? It was a lot of fun. Probably a once in a lifetime deal. I don't know. I'm not going to do the same exact thing again. But once you go once, then you kind of get the lay of the land. You can figure it out a little bit more and do it on the cheap, or But it was fun. One thing to do, and no gasoline fumes. So there's always that.
It's
My
like
horses were leading. I had
Bristol
five
race
horses to win. None of them did anything.
Yeah, the Bristol race is phenomenal. NASCAR is my favorite race. I've been to several of Bristol by far, but it's one of those where you do not. Now I've sat close, and you just come out. Your just eyes are just filled with
full of rubber.
Yes.
So see, and that's a good example. 10 years ago, there was a waiting list. You had to have a family ticket or something to get to Bristol.
Well, then you had
full.
Well, they had
bizarre.
And for the longest, the University of Tennessee and Virginia Tech wanted to play a football game for the longest. And that was just one of those, wise to, it'll never, one day it'll happen, kids, and you've just been talking it for years and years. And they finally did it. Well, the problem was the scoreboard was a tower. And so they had to remove that and find a way to have that scoreboard pulled with wires for that 1 mile track.
Yeah, which is ginormous, which is the size of the town I live in.
It's huge.
Suspended by wires in the middle of the track.
So they figured it out. And that was the last time that stadium was completely sold out, was that college football game.
Yeah. What they do with Bristol, so they have dirt races there. They just had dirt there.
Yeah, they had to come up with something creative, kind of like what Dave was talking about. Formula One, I mean, they're on it. The ratings are great. NASCAR's going down, but they had to do something different, and that is a fantastic race to watch.
But Matt and Darren, I guess I got a strange question. This ties to our industry and really every type of business. Is the money it has to be coming from sponsorships. Mm-hmm. It has to be. And that begs the question whether it's, Verizon, whether it's, pick any other, Tide, whoever. In our industry, does it even make sense to be putting money into stuff like that? I just don't see the value in it. I mean, you get a name out there, but I don't see the return on investment for any of that stuff.
Well, it's so hard to quantify brand awareness, right? I mean, it's tough. But I mean, I don't know. I guess who's you know what? I wouldn't know a NASCAR sponsor if you told me a driver. Honestly, I don't think I could say, oh yeah, they're sponsored by so-and-so. Now, 20 years ago, maybe, but I don't think you have the companies, the corporations aren't ponying up $40 million a year anymore. They're doing 8 million and getting 5 races and, doing things, partnerships like that. But man, either way, that's crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy money. And I just think as a marketing side of things, which all of us have to rely on to funnel our businesses, it's just crazy the amount of money we're having to spend out here even to generate, interest in our companies. And no matter whether it's NFI or pick anybody for that matter, it's just crazy the amount of money we're having to spend out here to brand ourselves and generate the interest in what we do. Yep. And we wish we had a magic bullet out there, but there is no magic bullet.
Yeah, and oddly enough, I don't think people are spending enough. That's my view on it. So I don't know.
Well, Darren,
I have a different view.
Interesting.
I think you're right. I think, Darren, from something that you and Matt would understand, being on this side of it, and several of the folks that will listen to this will, that the art of recruiting has really become a science. It's all about the data. And that's one of the evolutions that has really transformed this industry in the 28 years I've been doing this stuff, is when you get down to the granular piece of it. You are right, Darren. There's not enough companies truly spending the need that they have to generate the interest in the drivers. They don't understand cost per leads based on markets, based on conversion rates of their teams, based on what their openings are. All those have a a true tie-in to what your budget needs and must be if you really want to grow your companies.
Yeah, I think I heard someone say this the other day. The conversations now need to be, all right, let's be real.
Yeah.
Let's have real talk as to what's going on. What do you have right now? What are you selling? What are you offering to drivers? And you might hear that your baby's ugly, and you've got to be okay with that. And then, because conversation of the day was, well, we've got this big, massive billboard right over where we work. That's okay. How's that working? We don't know.
Yeah.
But we got to have
the drivers who work for you to see it.
Yeah. And so
it reminds them where to turn to come to work is what it does, Darren.
Yeah. I think to that individual who said that, you have to have, it's time to have real talks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's, from a lot of the folks that I know, friends of mine that work for smaller companies, the data just doesn't exist. They wing it. And that's the scary part of it, is they just spend money for the sake of spending it and hope to God they get a return on their investment. And that's not the way that you should be doing business out here.
True that.
How do we get from IndyCar and NASCAR racing to that? No, you're welcome, I guess, right, Matt?
My slipper.
Your slipper?
This is my new slippers. Look at this. Now my toenails probably look just like that, but still. Oh, I'm burning up now with those things on. What are you doing, Darren? He can't even hear us. I guarantee you right now he's lost.
It looks like he's froze. Yeah, he dropped.
Oh, he lost us.
You and I.
No, he's gone. David Pike.
Hey, now I am the host.
It says now you're the host.
So
please give us a completely different intro.
All right, we need to change the topic before he gets back. What should we talk about?
Oh, it's got to be. It's got to be. What would the topic be that would just completely stir Darren up? What does it need to be?
Oh, I've got stories, but
then let's go with those. That's perfect. And just if he gets back on, I don't know, you got to go. And I can tell you, and just like some quick sentence. And Darren told me to do that, and I did it, and it was just awful. And just leave it at that.
Absolutely will. Absolutely will. Well, I'll tell you something though. You and I have met on occasions and have talked many times before. And I'll tell you, this is an awesome thing that you guys are putting together. We need to do more of it. And I would love for us as an industry to really have more sessions like this, of calling in and getting drivers to educate them. Because as much as we talk about our businesses, Matt, and what we do in trying to recruit and retain drivers, I think the biggest thing that we as an industry collectively do not do is provide enough information for these drivers that bust their ass for us on these roads and just don't have the best of deals at their current company and want to come look. We don't really educate them. We don't teach them what to really look for and how to interpret what is being said. And I've long used this analogy, and follow me here. We'll take months to look and buy a house. We'll go for several weeks and shop a car dealership for, multiple test drives. Crap, man, we'll go to Best Buy and Walmart and Target for 3 weekends and shop big screen TVs. And a professional driver in his profession or her profession will hop on a phone and change a job in 5 minutes with a recruiter. And it makes no sense to me whatsoever. And that piece, I think we have got to address for the long-term stability of our industry. I just think it's key that as drivers become educated on the right things to ask carriers, the right things to look for in the jobs, and it doesn't matter whether it's a blue truck or whether it's a white truck or a red truck or a yellow truck, they need to know what to look for. I sincerely believe that the vast majority of recruiters are selling exactly what they believe in, but all too often I think we go without answering all the questions that the driver really needs to hear. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on that.
No, I agree. I lean more on where do you start that conversation, and to me that goes all the way to the truck driving schools.
Yeah.
Right now, and again, I've mentioned this on a couple of podcasts. If you said beach, where are the drivers at? Well, I can tell you one spot, one fishing hole, and that's in truck driving schools.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm fixing to hit the Commercial Vehicle Training Association CVTA conference this week, and which I am a huge advocate for the schools.
See you there.
And, I mean, to me, that's one of those where I would love and I wish that every trucking carrier had a training program for a entry-level driver.
Yeah.
But they don't. And I'm glad a lot of them don't, because they would fail, and, because of their mentality. And then going back to your point, you don't want to hurt that side of you really don't want to hurt that side of the industry, right? You bring them in, and immediately they're like, I'm done with this, I'm out. This is not what I thought it was supposed to be, because you just put me through a haze fest.
Yeah.
And so, but to your point, I really think that's a big proponent of where the industry needs to start that communication of, here it is. It was, the carrier I worked for hiring, we were hiring 3,000 drivers, if that, a year for students. And, I always got that, well, Matt, these students, they're not good drivers. I'm like, they're students.
Yeah, they're not going to be good drivers yet.
They're the job of the truck driver, the vast part of what they're supposed to do is help them get their Class A. That's it. You do this, you get in the truck, you learn this, you back up, you do this on the course, and then you go test and get your Class A, and you're done in 3 or 4 weeks.
Amen.
Or depending on 8 weeks. After that, guess what, carrier? It's your job to train them on being a truck driver, a true truck driver.
When I was up in DC last week, we were meeting with the Chamber of Commerce and Department of Labor, and Patrick Murphy, who's the appointee trying to figure out how to solve the supply chain issue. And of course, they're looking at all the apprentices, which I think is a great move. But one of the things I chimed in on, and is two things really. Is number one, I think that the general public has a misperception of our industry. They look at us as the old BJ and the Bear and Smokey and the Bandits, and that needs to change. And I think the federal government can certainly do better at that. But number two is, how do we bring those drivers back that had that bad first taste after 3 weeks or 3 months, that just didn't know the right questions and didn't know the right answers, and felt that carrier A that they decided on was indicative of the entire industry? And that's the tough question that we get to have. And so when you do that and start having to look for cars around Dallas, Texas all the time, and, having to take people around at 3:00 in the afternoon and they're missing flights, man, it's a tough job to do when you have to take care of somebody that's lost a car in Dallas, man.
Yeah. Oh,
holy crap. Wait a minute. I got zoomed out and I come back and you're talking about a lost car in Dallas.
Oh, no.
It can only be one person.
Well, number one, hold on. Dave is now the host. He's hosting.
Okay.
So we're not done anymore. So we've already talked about one story about you from 21 years ago.
That was a Dallas truck show.
Yeah.
Lost car in Dallas. I get back on just in time to hear lost car in Dallas. And I'm like, holy hell, what went? This is why I need to moderate these things.
Yeah.
Matt, I think we did that pretty well. What do you think?
I think we did. But if you think recruiting
record,
departments and recruiters are nothing but top class travel agencies.
I didn't lose the car, by the way.
Yeah.
But we're travel agencies in a sense of you got to get them here, you have to get them here, you have to do this, and then you have, then depending on the carrier, you're smacked with, now you got to keep them here. Now it's your job to help them keep them. It's like, it's a lot for a recruiting part. But going back to your point, I think the next generation of truckers. I think that's a great program for to be able to start that communication, right, to what you're looking at, to change into view and being in high schools and promoting it and talking about what it's like to me. Because I did that a few years back. It was called Tomorrow's Truckers, and I hit 9 high schools, I think it was, maybe a little more here in the Chattanooga area. And you would be surprised how many of them had a family member that was a truck driver.
Oh yeah.
In every upper classroom, but no, I think that's a great, excellent point. Excellent points. I mean, I agree with you. And
I hope that, and I guess the reason I bring all that up, and Darren, we were talking something completely different, but we just had to pick on you since you dropped. So we just slid that in at the perfect timing. But it's really about how we attract new drivers to our industry and really how we retain them. And I think my bigger issue is, how do we go back and get those drivers that have left after 3 weeks or 3 months that just had a bad taste at a company that is primarily all student based. because they thought trucking was something truly different than it is, because we all know that there are a plethora of organizations that have jobs that these folks may want. They just don't know how to look for them. They haven't been educated, haven't been taught, they don't know what to do. They just look in there for the first person that's going to provide them a free CDL, and they think that's trucking, and it's a completely different world out there. So I hope that we can begin to stir that pot, Matt and Darren, and begin to get that awareness up for our industry and get it out for these students, and begin to host and develop educational content, training, podcasts like this specifically related to those types of items. Because I agree with you, Matt. I think these driving schools that are awesome at what they do, they've had a lot of regulations jammed down their throat with the ELDT mandate, 2 years for their instructors. So they're facing their own challenges, and to see those folks leave the industry after all the hard work that their teams have done, those instructors have done, our teams in orientation have done, their trainers have done, to watch those drivers leave because they didn't know that they had to take a shower in a truck stop, is just sad on our industry that we don't teach that.
But and even that, I'm going down another rabbit hole. Even those who want to get into the industry, it's a pain in the butt. I mean, it's absolutely an absolute nightmare. I mean, you still have people who are waiting in a line first thing in the morning, as soon as the facility opens to get your license, the DMV, like they're waiting around for Formula One tickets to go on sale.
I gotta tell you, I've been doing this for 30 years, right? Been in the industry for 30, maybe more, probably more. But I was amazed to learn from talking to people through this, that it's so difficult. And Beach is a guy that kind of brought it to my attention, that it's so difficult to get a CDL. I thought it was the easiest thing in the world. It's not even close. I honest to God had no idea. I really didn't. So if I don't know, holy moly, I should know. I didn't realize there was such a shortage of trainers, of everything. I just didn't.
Now, listen, it's not across there are, Tennessee's easy to go. You can get your CDLA pretty easily, but it's hard to get into school now because they're so backlogged, because they don't have enough trainers or instructors to train the thing. But you got some states, I would say it's probably 13, 14, where it's just absolutely ridiculous to try to get a Class A. Of all the hoops you got to jump through. And even that, they don't have third-party testing. Gosh, third-party testing is key right now. Try to get these drivers in and out and into a carrier. But anyway, there's a backlog, and it's tough. It's a challenge.
Well, the good thing is that regardless of the administration, and not to even remotely touch on the political side of things, we know how toxic that can be. It is good to see that at least this administration is taking an active approach to try to solve this problem. And being a part of that table when we were at the Chamber of Commerce last week, when we were up in DC, last month, with being able to talk about the apprentice, driving more people in, we've at least got a seat at that table now, Matt. And it is good to see that myself, some other major carriers, all the right players in the industry from Indeed and others that are out there are taking a seat at that table to help solve this problem. And we've got the government's Department of Labor's Department of Transportation's ear on this. So we're bringing these issues of trainers to concern. One of the major school chains was in that meeting last week, Matt. And when we brought up the issue that, yes, you could send us 80,000 drivers to the industry tomorrow to solve the shortage, we don't have 80,000 trainers available. And then the school, it's a very large organization, chimed in and said, yes, and with the 2-year mandate of experience to make me have an instructor at a school, we can't find instructors. And then secondarily, with driver wages having increased so much over the 2 years, which we calculated, just within our own company, we've taken almost a 25+% or better increase across the board nationwide, just because of the customers having to pay more for this stuff. Now instructors are willing to go back over the road because they can make more money than being an instructor at school.
Exactly.
So Darren, to your point, it's the whole economic side of it is just a massive issue, let alone getting an individual who knows nothing about this industry through the wickets that they've got to go through to get a CDL. It's crazy.
Yeah, and there's no immediate solution.
No.
But as you said, there are people that are starting to plan. So, I mean, it's a start. Like I said, the last time I saw a picture of you, you were with the administration.
Yeah. And again, last week we were actually at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce last week with those folks again on the task force, and sitting down for a roundtable session for about an hour and a half with all the key players from DC and the industry as well. So really what the federal government's trying to do in general terms, and how we all play a part of that as our side of the industry, is really coming up with a good public-private partnership of helping solve this supply chain issue. And I like the answer that Patrick Murphy gave, and it wasn't solving it for the immediate future for the next 1 to 3 years, but how do we solve it for the next 20? And that's the real answer. And I think we have to, as an industry, step up and do more for that. We really do. Which is kind of one of the reasons why you had just, stepped off for whatever reasons. Matt and I were talking. I wish we could engage more educational content for the industry, talk to the drivers, let them vent and figure out what the right questions are to ask, and how to navigate the complexities of A, getting a CDL, and B, getting the right job that makes them happy.
That's and again, I apologize. It's nice that you say I stepped off. I live in Mayberry. I'm assuming a squirrel chewed through a wire or something. So yeah, I was gone for a little bit. But hey, it's last call. We're getting booted out of here. So David, thank you very much for joining us today. Everybody else, from me and old Chubby LC, be safe and keep on trucking.
WLC and Darren, love you guys. Appreciate you having me on today. Thanks a bunch, everybody.
Appreciate you, David.
You guys be good. See you next week.